Hi, my name is Aun Japanwala, and I took the leap by taking responsibility for my future by building my own business.
Hello and welcome to Leap TV with Cherene Francis. I'm your host, where we're inspiring entrepreneurs to take a leap in business. Today we're with Aun Japanwala, who is an insurance provider for small to medium-sized businesses. Today we're going to be talking about how he was an introvert and moved a little bit into his extroversion to increase his sales. Aun, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cherene, for having me on your show.
Awesome.
I'm, first of all, really excited to be sharing the stage where I know that your lineup of guests have been extraordinary people, so I'm just excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure having you, and we only love to feature extraordinary people, so you're one of them.
Thank you. It's
Yes,
yes. It's pretty much like that's the same thing my mom would say.
Yes,
Yeah.
beautiful. So, we were talking backstage a little bit
Yep.
about your journey into business and how you got started. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am an insurance broker by trade. I originally started off, I graduated school and I was trying to find my line of work. And 99% of people in the insurance industry, if you ask them, will respond by saying they just fell into it. They just applied for all jobs, got rejected, and they ended up in the insurance industry. And that's how my story began. I started off working in an inbound call center where I would essentially just wait for calls to come in and try to sell the policy and things of that nature. But at some point, I decided to take the leap and become responsible for my own business, essentially becoming my own outbound sales agent and build my book of business, or should I say book of relationships.
So, what made you decide to go from, being that outbound call salesperson to having your own business? What was going on in your life?
Well, great question. I originally started off in, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is. It's sort of like you feel that it's almost every day you're going into work. It's sort of like repetitive. Not to shoot down the job or anything, or my past jobs. I enjoyed them quite much, but I felt that there was more to it, and there was some sort of itch I needed to scratch. So I decided that, for me to be able to pursue the passion of me being able to communicate with people, I decided to go on the offensive side and took the position as an outbound commercial agent.
So was it
Commercial broker, sorry.
So when you made that decision to do your business, was there any challenges or fears, or did you just knew that this was right for you and you jumped right in? How did you know it was time?
Well, I'm a natural introvert, and I'm the type of guy, if there was a party, I would enter and leave without you even noticing that I was here or gone. Like, I usually stay to myself. Obviously extroverts are people who are very energetic and very social. Like, they're the type of guys or girls who can go to a table full of strangers and introduce themselves individually and stuff. And I'm not that type of person. I'll only go to a party if I know somebody who's going there. Otherwise, it's not even an event I'd want to step into.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like I woke up one morning and said, great, I'm going to start being somebody who I am not. So it was baby steps. Originally, when I decided to take the position as an outbound broker, where I was responsible building my own business, it was immense amount of fear built within me. And I started by doing baby steps. First I did was, after I took the position and panicking while I signed the contract, doubting myself every moment, saying, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Or is this the biggest mistake? I'm not going to have that regular paycheck coming in every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Am I doing it? But hey, I took the leap, as you could say, and I jumped in. After jumping in, I I started by just approaching warm leads. And warm leads are people that you sort of have a relationship with to start off with. Usually that's your friends, your family members, and you start letting people know your services and what you're doing these days, and getting the word out there.
Right.
That's how it usually started off, step by step, and you sort of start building confidence.
Right.
But then what do you do when your warm leads start to run out?
Right. Because now you were an introvert, so
Right.
now you going out into talking to strangers. What was that like for you?
First of all, I stumbled like I was back in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say, how to build relations. It's believe it or not, building relations is a skill on its own.
Yeah.
It's not that you can just enter a place and to have a quick 2 seconds of conversation with somebody and build a relationship with them right off the bat. You have to spend time, get to know them. And one of the benefits I had of being an introvert is that I like to observe.
Right.
And that made me a good listener. And when I sat down with people, introduced myself, even though I wasn't approaching the whole table of people, I'd maybe pick out 1 or 2 people who had a smile on their face the minute I walked in, and I sort of built that relationship with them right off the bat. Like that indirect, like, they give you that warm vibes,
Right.
so I approached them, introduced myself, started talking, and I just realized that I made a relationship,
Yeah.
a warm relationship out of a cold one. And it starts off that way.
Yeah. So then in that moment, you're like, hey, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It started off in that concept. Now, many sales professionals or many businesses who are starting out, their biggest fear is cold calling.
Yes.
There are many people who want to get out there and if you go on YouTube, you go on Facebook, there are so many people in advertisements coming out saying, hey, read this ebook and you will never have to cold call again. I'm sorry, but most of the best relationships I've made who are my clients were generated through cold calling. Who didn't know, I called maybe 50, 60 people a day.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the first call I was making, I was panicking. I was sweating bricks. I was trying to find reasons not to dial the number because I was afraid that the other person's going to curse me off.
Yeah.
They're going to yell at me. They're going to tell me to, get lost and swear at me, whatever the case is, and make me feel inferior and insecure, and I'll probably quit the job. But believe it or not, people are not like that.
Yeah.
And that was a wrong mistake on my part
Yeah.
to believe something like that, believe that fear that cold calling is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
And if people do hang up on you, is their polite way of saying they're busy and they'll talk to you again later.
Don't take it personal.
Don't take
right?
it personal.
Right. Yeah.
And if I may give 5 tips that I applied to myself.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, can you help us with things like that? Because introversion, the fear of speaking to people that you've never, hi, you know what I mean? Even door knocking, that's a common thing, especially for people that are considering going into business. Well, who's gonna buy for me? How am I gonna build this? And it's awesome that you were able to overcome that and just leap in. So what would you say are the best ways to develop that skill set?
Actually, before I give you those tips,
Yeah.
I want to throw in a quick story in here.
Sure.
About how you built my conviction from 98% to 100.
Okay.
About 6 weeks ago,
Yeah.
I came up with the idea one day sitting around that I'm going to start a TV show. But before I started the TV show, I didn't know what to do, where to go. And this TV show I started on Facebook Live. The TV show, or the plan was to start a Facebook Live and interview local businesses,
Yes.
entrepreneurs, sales professionals in the industry. And then one day I was hoping that somebody will watch that Facebook Live feed
Yeah.
and give me a TV show out of it.
Yes.
I reached out to a couple of my friends
Yeah.
and I told them about the ideas,
Yeah.
and they said, this is a dumb idea. Nobody's going to watch this show
Yeah.
or anything of the sort. And out of the 98% of conviction I had, I let that 2%, which required validation,
Wow.
take over the other 98, and I scrapped the idea in my head.
Wow.
And I tossed it out.
Wow.
3 days later, I met you, and I asked you, what's your
And-
TV show about? and you came out with this idea, and you told me that it took you about 3 days.
Yes.
Is that correct? From
I didn't
idea
even
to
think about it.
execution,
Yes,
right? It
yeah.
came through with it.
Yeah.
And I just told myself, and after I met you, that conviction went from 98 to 100%, saying,
Beautiful.
if I have an idea, I should stick with it, because if I stuck with it, this might have been the Cherene Francis and Aun Japanwala show.
Yes,
You know?
that's amazing.
So the best part about it is that, I just want to throw that story in, is
Yeah.
that many people have ideas, but they'll seek validation. And they'll shoot, and not everybody's going to is going to agree with you, because a lot of your friends and family, they care about you. They don't want to see you fail, right? That's their intention. They don't care about the part that you succeed. They don't want you to fail, because that's their worry, is you hurting yourself or falling off and ending up in a position that's very uncomfortable. That's their fear, and that's why they'll try to keep you away from that. But anyways,
that's amazing, and I love the flip side of things, because again, if when even the very idea of going out on your own to start your own business, right? There's that fear. I remember, even for myself, like, well, why would you do that? Why don't you just get a regular job, stay in your job? You have great benefits, right? And so really good points there. And you actually interviewed me on your TV show, which was pretty cool.
Which was a live TV show,
Where could we watch that? On your Facebook, right? On your
absolutely.
Facebook.
On my
so
Facebook.
we'll put links to that after the show.
Yeah. So
what are those tips about cold calling?
The tips, okay. So in sales, not just in cold calling. It's an acronym I set for myself called CCHEL. So the first C stands for credibility. Build credibility by living up to the little details. If you're telling a client you're going to be at a certain place at 10 o'clock, be there by 9:59. Make sure you're not late. Make sure you're dressed to impress. These little things build credibility. If you're going to build credibility by guiding the client through the process of your service or sales, that, hey, we placed the order for you. Your package is coming in 3 days. 2 days, 1 day, your package has arrived. Let's go grab a cup of coffee. I'll explain the details. Be credible with your statements.
Right.
The second C is criticism. Do not criticize your competition. When you're in an industry and there's competition, your automatic way of just jumping into trying to get the sale is by bad-mouthing the competition, the incumbent, or the current person who's competing with you for the same sale. What you do is you make yourself look unprofessional by criticizing the other professional, and you disrespect the industry you're currently in. Which is a huge. It doesn't look good, and it doesn't feel good either, right? And absolutely. From the outside, it's like, well, what do you have against that? Like, people want to know that they want to trust you. Exactly.
And if you are talking, bad talking, it kills the vibe of the sale, I can imagine, right?
So instead, you should be worried about delivering a value proposition. How does your product or service separate you from your competition? Don't worry about what they're doing. Worry about what you're doing. Right? The next tip goes to H, which stands for help, honest help. When you're out there making the sale, look to honestly supply the product or service that's needed by your client. Don't try to oversell to make that extra quick bucks. Don't try to undersell by providing them a lower price on a product that's not going to be there for them when they need it. And make sure it's honest. And part of that honesty is walking away when you don't have the product or service for them, or guiding them through maybe a friend or family who does have that product available for them.
Just sending the referral.
And what you do by doing that is you keep the door open. When you're supplying somebody honest help, they will respond back to you by either purchasing the product you're offering, because people can see honesty and they can smell, dishonesty.
Of course.
And if they don't even purchase the product from you, that's fine. But they've seen the way they've seen your character, and they'll send referrals off to you.
Wow.
So that leaves the door open for that. Right?
Cool.
E, and there's two more, E and L. All right? Get ready for this. This is my favorite one. Okay.
I'm bracing myself.
All right. E is for ego. Lose it. Okay. If you are going into sales or business and you're going in with their ego, you will get smashed out of that field faster than you can get in. Okay, there are times you're going to be rejected on the phone. You're going to do all the work, and somebody else is going to take the cake. You may lose a client for $50, and you may do all the work, and the person gave the business to their brother-in-law. Well, you never know what can happen. And you have to know, because you have to lose the ego, because what you do to yourself by keeping ego in this is letting people know that by keeping an ego, that you blame the failures that you've had in sales or your business or anything of the sort. You're going to blame each and everybody besides the one who really needs to take responsibility.
Which is yourself, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Makes sense.
And the last one in marketing stands for L, which is loud. Be loud in the marketplace. You have to spend time in brand management, media, social media, get your name out, network marketing. whatever the case your industry in, you have to get your name out there. There's 1,000 people in competing for the same thing.
Yeah.
How are you going to set yourself apart? If brands like Nike and Apple are still spending millions of dollars in advertising, and you're just entering the field, well,
What's
you better.
so special
What's going
about
to
it?
say? Just the noise they're making is going to distract the attention to them. So what exactly are you going to do to separate yourself from generating business?
And this is what's powerful about your whole TV show that you've created, because I don't know an insurance agent that has a TV show.
Right.
And so I don't know much about insurance myself, so I'm going to be curious to hear what you have to say about business and all of those topics. So it's amazing that you, again, took another leap into doing something that was out of your comfort zone, right? Like an introvert, now I'm going to go on TV.
Hey, believe it or not, just being on this TV show right now, there's 1,000 voices in my head. 999 of them are telling me to run, pass out, or just scream. Okay, but there's that one you gotta focus on.
On staff,
right?
Right?
So
don't worry. No, just kidding.
But there's that one voice that you gotta focus in on, and that's the one that's telling you that, listen, time is finite.
Yes.
60. When I turned 60, 70, and I look back at this opportunity, that being on television on such a great show, am I going to regret not taking this opportunity? Absolutely, I would regret it. So I rather fight the fear and jump in on the show, because it's something I can be proud about doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just leap. All right. Yes. Perfect. Well, it was a pleasure having you today on our show.
Thank you.
And I love hearing what you had to say about the cold calling and the tips on connecting and building relationships with people you don't know.
Right.
They were very helpful.
Thank you.
Great. Hi, my name is Cherene Francis, and I'm the host of the Leap TV show. We're looking for sponsors and advertisers that are looking to get more exposure for their business. Contact us today, and we'll have you as a sponsor or advertiser for our season. Our guest today, Parisa Zoghi, has been a process engineer for many years. Even after immigrating to Canada, she worked in the field of engineering to support her family and her lifestyle. She didn't quite like the job and what she was doing, and so she decided to take a leap into business as an event planner and promoter. Welcome to the show, Parisa.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's so good to have you. What I really love about your story is how you came to Canada, and even as an immigrant working here, you didn't see it as something that would get in the way of starting something new or having to stay in the same industry as an engineer for so long. But before we go into how you made the leap into your new business, I want to hear a little bit more about what your thought process was when you decided to leave engineering and go into entrepreneurship.
Thank you for asking this question. The thing is, back home in Iran, this is the way that we raised, that everybody needs to be engineers or doctors or lawyers, I don't know, and usually we are like very high educated.
Yeah.
And but this is not by choice. Like lots of other things, it's not your choice. And so that was my, based on my culture and what my parents loved me to do. And I was really good in math, so I decided to be an engineer. So I knew that I don't want to be a doctor.
Yeah. So the choices were few: doctor, engineer, lawyer. But
yeah,
math. Okay.
But I always loved music.
Okay.
And I was the one was looking for music lessons. To find a school for music, and then I found it, but it was like I was 16-year-old, I guess, and I found that, and I started doing playing one of the Iranian traditional instrument called setar, And I started that, and I said, okay, I'm going to be a musician. And I told my parents that, what do you think? Can I be a musician, or do you want me to be an engineer? And they said, okay, so we would like you to be an engineer. And why don't you ask your music teacher?
Yeah.
And I asked him, and he passed away. He was very wise, I think, because he was in the same situation. He chose from his heart, but as I can tell you the stories, the musicians and artists are struggling. So because he saw that, you know, even if I chose to be a musician, and I'm a woman and I'm living in Iran, so it can be hard for me to make money, or, you know, to perform, or work as a musician. So he said, yeah, your parents are right, be
An engineer. Wow.
So I chose to be an engineer. It's a very hard entrance exam, and I was in one of the best engineering university in Iran. Everybody, like all Iranians know I'm from Sharif University. And so I graduated and I started working as a chemical engineer. But my spirit always wanted to go back to music.
Yeah.
So whatever money I was getting, like my income, I was using for dance class, and then going to concerts and movies and theaters, because that was my passion still.
Wow, that's awesome. So now, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing now with the Iranian community.
So I decided to expand Oakville Iranians as a non-for-profit organization. But all non-for-profit organizations, they need money. They have to have to raise money.
Right.
And I said, okay, I'm gonna have my private company, and then that company, if I have a revenue, I can help any non-for-profit, and I can help my own non-for-profit, and I don't have to beg for money.
Yeah.
So I started my company called Silk, and that's the reason is I always wanted to have a girl call it Parand. In Persian, Parand means pure silk with no writing on it, like pure silk. So I name it Silk,
Yeah.
but I'm spelling it as SILC,
Right.
which is the abbreviation for Sensational Iranian Leaders Corporation.
Ooh, I love that. That's like so classy and fun at the same time. So what are you doing with Silk? How are you empowering the Iranian community with Silk?
So my plan now is to organize events and help any events that Iranian community wants to plan, to help them. And then if we raise any money from that event, if it's a concert or conference, any event it is, then I can support artists and musicians specifically who came to Canada for a better life and better
just
opportunities.
like you.
Yeah, and I know lots of them. They're engineers.
Yeah.
They're doing engineer to have the money to spend on their music, for example.
Right.
So one of them I'm helping, and I already sponsored them, is the group. It's a Persian rock band called the Persist. And one of my friend Mehran Aminian, he is the songwriter and also the singer himself. So he's a polymer engineer.
Yeah.
But yeah. So now you know the background
Yeah,
of the story. Why all the Iranians are engineers or doctors.
Because you have to be an engineer,
To
a
make
doctor,
money.
or a lawyer.
he called me because he knew I'm in a sponsorship committee for the other festival.
Right.
He said, you might know lots of sponsors. Can you find me any sponsor? I said, yeah, I just found you another sponsor. He's like, that quick? I said, yes.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I'm gonna sponsor you. He said, okay, just send me a name of your company and your name. I put it there on, it's like the first thing, it's my name and my company's name.
Yeah.
And he himself designed my logo because I didn't have even a logo.
Aw, that's so sweet.
So I started Oakville Iranian community a while ago, and I was just putting more time for that because it was my passion to help the newcomers, the people who come to live in Oakville and they don't know the area. And everybody, like all Iranian in Oakville, they thought they are the only Iranian in the. But we are a lot now.
Yeah.
Now I have the community, and then I said, okay, why don't we have like for our New Year to have a party or to have a, we call it bazaar. It's like a trade show. Like it's like Christmas shopping before Christmas. So it's like our New Year shopping before our New Year, which is beginning of a spring.
Okay.
March 20 or 21st.
Yeah.
So I started with my one of my friends who she is a chemical engineer as well, and she was laid off home, and but her passion is baking, and she's really good. Like we use our engineering mindset in everything, and we are on top.
Okay. If I could engineer dinner the way an engineer does things, then I think it would taste a lot better, right?
Yes.
But yeah, cool.
Like perfection.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So we started. We said, okay. I said, okay. So you bake and you bring your sweets and pastries because she is really good, and then I find other people to bring other stuff that we can sell it there. So it became our first Oakville Iranian Nowruz Bazaar. And it was great. Everybody loved it, and then so we did it again this year, much in a very nicer and larger space.
Yeah.
From 20 vendors last year, it was almost 40 vendors, and we had performances, dances, like kids dance, adult dance, music. Piano players.
Wow.
So yeah, and then
that got back in touch with your musical and performing arts side,
yes,
right? Okay.
Art, culture, and also I think I'm using my engineering mindset for organizing because to me it's like anything, even your making a dinner, it's like a project. You have budget, you have time, and you have a deadline.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So your story is so inspiring. I love how you've taken your own past pain of not being able to, go out in music, and you're helping others do that and fusing the engineering, and all this stuff. And you know what? It's a great way. It's a great example to show people in our audience that you could take your passions, past skill sets, past experiences, and really make something, make an impact from that. So that's why I love your story.
Thank you.
Parisa, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you're welcome.
Good luck on your business.
Oh, yes. Woo!